Well, thank you, everyone. Welcome joining our first English workshop of the GSEF 2021 forum. Each day, starting from today, 4th October till 8th October, we'll have 5 sub-themes every day. So we encourage to visit our GSEF2021.org website for live streaming and for more information on the official website and GSEF website. So let me introduce you first. Our moderator, Ms. Ching-Yu, sorry about my pronunciation. Ching-Yu Yao is the Director General of the Secretariat of New Taipei City, the largest city and one of the major city of business industries in Taiwan. Prior to this role, she served as the Executive Secretary to the Taipei City International Affairs Advisory Council and Mainland Affairs Council. She was also diplomat for a decade. Since December 2018, she has been utilizing her unique blend of global and local experiences in work as the Director General of the Secretariat. Thank you so much, Yao. Welcome. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Soo-Yeon. Hi, everyone. This is a truly exciting moment. I think GSEF has overcome a lot of challenges. And today we're truly having a global forum because we will have speakers from Asia. We'll have also speakers from Africa. And then we'll have people participating from South America, from North America, from Mexico. So everyone is at a different time zone. Whether you are far or you are near, we are making our efforts and focus on making sure the first English workshop of GSEF 2021, a great success. And I'm Ching-Yu from New Taipei City, Taiwan. New Taipei is the largest city in Taiwan. We have 4 million populations. And my job today is to make sure that our session is focusing on the theme of our first day's GSEF, which is rebuilding an inclusive society by ensuring basic needs and services through public-private partnership. And I think we're gonna have exciting 4 speakers from different parts of the world. And by basic needs, we mean housing, food, health, living, etc., and etc. So GSEF has brought together a lot of executives from private sector, from governments, from NGO, and from citizens to discuss about SSE, which means social and solidarity economy. And from my perspective as New Taipei City government, it's a great honor to be participating in GSEF again. I participated in GSEF 2018 in Bilbao as a speaker. And I think from that, I learned so much. And I think government should be a pivotal platform in making sure that more and more SSE are participating in our public works. So without further ado, I will briefly tell all the participants online or offline in Mexico, in Africa, or in Asia. We will be having 4 exciting speakers today. The first one will be Joyce Mundara from Kenya, and we'll have 1 speaker also from Taipei, my neighboring city, the capital of Taiwan, Dr. Lily Chang, talking about low-income housing. And then we'll have 2 speakers from South Korea. One is from the capital, Seoul, which is Mrs. Song-Hin Cho. And then the last speaker, but not the least, will be Dr. Jong from South Korea as well. Then I will first introduce our first speaker, Ms. Joyce Mundara. She will be speaking about Neighborside. She founded a Neighborside Housing Cooperative Society in 2016. And she has a really, really impressive background. She has been working in various government organizations One of them is particularly caught my attention, is Association of County Governments of Kenya. And from then she realized that a lot of the domestic workers are female, and their agenda and their concerns and their miserable working life has not been included in many of the topics, in many of the forum, in many of the government services to be discussed. So she has founded a neighbor side housing cooperative society, trying to bring this agenda back to life. And her topic will be leaving no one behind, going back for our forgotten managers. So let's welcome Mrs. Joyce Mundara. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ching. I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly. And it's a great honor for me to actively participate in this GSEF Mexico workshop or conference. Yes, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of us who are sharing this screen. My name is Joyce, like you have been told. I'm based in Nairobi. Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya. And the organization that I formed in 2016, and we got it registered in 2017, is called Neighborside Housing Cooperative. And there are many factors that led me to starting this organization. It's a very personal initiative, and I'm glad that it's linking with other mainstream organizations. So we are headed for a nice time in our future. So several factors led me to introducing this organization. And I'm reading from my presentation that the first one of these factors was that for many years, I had observed that most female domestic workers had miserable lives, especially in Kenya. And that happens a lot across Africa. I don't know about other continents. And that is mainly because domestic work is generally despised. It's looked down upon because it's considered for those people, especially women and girls, whose backgrounds were miserable. Either they dropped out of school due to poverty, or they got into early marriages and then the marriages did not work, and so they had to move away to fend for themselves. Or it's because of poor background in rural areas where, due to poverty levels, some parents cannot even afford to pay fees for girls. So they ask them, the parents usually ask them to go to the city, and in this case, Nairobi city, to look for housework so that they can be able to send some money home to cater for the families back home. Or it could be out of teenage pregnancy, and the girl gets a child, and then she has to cater for the child. So she has to go and leave the child or children with her parents and look for work. All this is happening even now. Another factor that motivated me to do something about female domestic workers was my job experience. Since 1997, I have worked for an organization that is now called the Association of County Governments of Kenya. One of the core mandates of this association is to implement sustainable local development through our local governments. And one of the key tasks is to interpret agreements, international development agenda into real projects that can transform lives, especially to reduce poverty at the rural level. So this was one of our core mandates. And from that, from my own experience, I realized, yes, the association had a very strong gender program, but I kept on observing, because that was something that was in me for many years, that yes, we are empowering many women and girls through this association. We have many programs across Kenya and projects. But how come we are not talking of these women and girls who are helping us go out to work as women? Because these are the managers without whom I cannot even step out to go and work. Yet we are saying time has come, especially with the sustainable development goals, for us to implement SDG number 5 with all its targets, leaving no one behind. That's the new urban agenda. But then this group of women and girls, and in Kenya, we have many households because urban population for sure is rising up. So I kept on observing that we have these managers that we are leaving behind, and therefore there was some urgent need for something to be done. And realizing that this was not a time for the association to take this idea on board, I thought maybe I could start something small on my own, and then maybe later on in years to come, I can mainstream it with the association. So with that, with the SDGs in 2015 and 2016, the SDGs and the Habitat 3 Conference for Sustainable Development, I realized there was no other time to waste because the SDGs were very challenging. We all know that the SDGs call for action to end poverty, to protect the environment, to reduce economic inequality, and to ensure peace and justice for all. So I found my entry point there, especially when I focused on this SDG number 5, on the empowerment of women and girls, and then on SDG number 8, which is on decent work and economic growth. So I couldn't wait any longer. On my own, I started weekly radio programs with a local station, highlighting the need to value domestic workers in Kenya. Because every time, even the issue of domestic workers comes up in the media, it is always held in mockery. People make a lot of ridicule about it. Recently, there was a case where there was an issue of increment of wages for domestic workers. And you should have seen the media, the following three or 4 days that followed, all the ridicule, highlighting the fact that female domestic workers deserve the least or the worst in this country. But I got moving because after every program, I would appeal to those who are willing to join the neighbor side housing cooperative that I had formed to register with me through a telephone number. And I got a good number, 57, of women and girls I had never met before, people I never knew. So they called in, and then I would just organize meetings with them. And we started meeting. And unfortunately, we could only meet on Sundays because this is the only one day that domestic workers in Kenya get an afternoon off or a whole day off if one is lucky. So for 2 hours, for 1 hour, we could meet, introduce the issues that we wanted to do, and at least see one another, for people to even exchange their telephone contacts. And up to now, the association or this organization is still there. We registered it in 2017 with the following objectives. Number 1 objective is to economically empower female domestic workers in Kenya with sustainable income generating and entrepreneurship skills and knowledge, including financial literacy, business skills, and formation of cooperative movements for economic empowerment to work. Another objective that we have is to create awareness on the need to treat female domestic workers with respect and dignity that they deserve as human beings, because they need even to be empowered to save for their future lives, save and invest, just like everybody else does. And another objective is to professionalize domestic work through capacity building. And especially training, because we realize that if you are trained, if domestic workers are trained, they have higher opportunities of getting jobs with people who are going to pay them well, and therefore facilitating them to save for their future and investments for their lives. And the other objective is for us to research on relevant issues in order to create evidence-based information for lobby and advocacy with various organizations, to local governments, to other stakeholders for domestic rights, including the right to the city, which we all know is a global agenda. And then the other one is to create a savings and investment culture among the domestic workers, because it's lacking totally, ultimately making them to become homeowners in the city of Nairobi. And that is why we have neighborside housing cooperative, because this is our very far-fetched goal or vision, that domestic workers are also, even landladies, through cooperative associations. And then to include climate change issues, because it's a global agenda, it's affecting everyone. Domestic workers are also in the front line of this. If we talk about saving energy, conserving energy in homes, times the number of homes that we have in Nairobi or in Kenya, that is a lot of energy that we are going to save. Or if you're talking of using alternative energy, alternative means, and every household is embracing this through the domestic workers, this is a lot of energy that is ultimately saved in Nairobi and in Kenya. Or the need to conserve water, because we know also water can be misused in all these households. So in simplistic terms, we have been highlighting the need for them to do all this, and thereby also bringing them into the climate change issues. And then later on, we plan to create consumer cooperatives for Kenyan domestic workers in Kenyan cities and towns. Yeah, I'm moving on. I hope I'm within the 10 minutes. Our activities include the following. We are calling upon our national government to ratify Convention 189 of the International Labour Organization. This convention highlights decent work and adopted labor standards for domestic workers globally. And many countries, several countries in Africa, I think 4 or so, have ratified. But in Kenya, we are not yet there. Another activity that we have is information sharing and networking with relevant organizations, including those organizations that deal directly with gender issues. And we are also liaising with the Ministry of Cooperatives within the government to ensure that neighborside housing cooperative conforms to laws governing our organization. And then we have some partners, because we cannot go around these issues on our own. One of our partners is the Ministry of Cooperative Development and Marketing. And then we have a trade union in Kenya with all the background of lobbying, and we have joined them recently very actively. We are housed by a certain church. That is where we hold our meetings usually. It's called Abundant Grace and Miracle Ministries. And then we have another partner called National Gender Commission. Going on, we have to overcome some key challenges, like many organizations do. And one of these challenges is to realize that domestic work is among the sectors that people generally despise. That one I have said, because it is not even regulated in Kenya. It is in the informal sector. And generally, work in the informal sector in Kenya is lacking a lot in form of regulation and recognition. So people just work for the sake of what we call hand to mouth. You get your wage, you spend it, no saving, no investment. If you are unwell, if you cannot go to work, you are done. That is the status of this domestic work in Kenya. So with regard to inclusive public policies, there are some policies that target women and girls in Kenya, but the domestic workers themselves are ignorant of those policies. Therefore, they are not able to take any active action to get involved. They lack in any collective voice, and it is hard to deal with them within the policies, because we need to educate them, to highlight to them that there are all these policies as we build our capacity. The greatest challenge, however, like it has been all over the world, has been to adjust to post-COVID-19 era. Because since last year, March, we have had a 90% dropout rate of our members. Some of them lost their jobs, returned to their rural areas, and others were just warned not to leave their employers' homes for fear of the coronavirus infection. Some of the employers also lost their jobs, and therefore they went back home. Others are working from home, so they are just multitasking together with housework. And so domestic workers, some of them have been rendered redundant. But anyway, our way forward is to reach them. We are recruiting them from their rural areas, and we are hoping to have our capacity building activities based in rural areas where they are based, such that when we have trained them, we just keep them waiting and we start sourcing for employers for them. And once we get a ready employer, we just call the respective girls and women and place them accordingly. That is the end of my presentation. I thank you all so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Yao, I think we don't hear you now. Oh, okay. Thank you, Joyce, for your presentation. And Yao, I think, could you try again to say something? Yes, okay. I think we have still the issue. Like, I think the Zoom has limits, maybe. I don't know, it allows us for us to have your nice voice for 15 minutes and then it disconnects. I don't know, but maybe, Yao, like, why you come back with us? Could you again try?
This will work?
No. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will make sure that the technical problem is solved. But I think Joyce's presentation is perfect to kick off our discussion. And even though it's a few minutes over time, but I will also ask the following speakers, maybe watch your time a little bit. And if before the 1 minute summary to end your presentation, I will probably remind you and interrupt you, but I hope everyone could observe the 10, maybe a few minutes more time. New Taipei City is the first city in Taiwan to issue a SDG VLR. And I'm so glad that Joyce has told us that this very special cooperative society has focusing on goal 5, gender equality, and I think it also focuses and helps on goal 8, which is decent work and economic growth. So I think we can all link the later presentation, especially Dr. Lily Chang's presentation, to SDG very well. Let me introduce our second speaker, Dr. Lily Chang. He is a senior specialist from Department of Urban Development of Taipei City Government. I'm from New Taipei, and Taipei City is our neighboring city, which is also the capital of Taiwan. So I'm very glad to introduce my neighbor. He will be speaking about having the right to live in a friendly, inclusive, and suitable community without discrimination in Taipei City. Taipei is really, really expensive. So we're glad to have Dr. Lily Chang to tell us about how the city government is enforcing a top-down policy to create an affordable but also an inclusive community living for all the citizens. So the floor is yours, Dr. Lily Chang.
Dear participants, my name is Lily Chang. I'm in charge of urban planning and social housing planning in Taipei City Government. I'm deeply honored
I think we have technical difficulties. This is the beauty and proof that we are actually joining live, right? So just short advertisements until our Dr. Lily Chang comes back. I think we are live streamed right at this moment on Facebook, GSEF official Facebook page, and also GSEF2021.org official website. You can see, and then I'll also check if there's any comments or questions coming up.
Certainly.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh. Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes, now you're back.
You okay?
But your video, could you share the PPT again, please?
Okay. 从头了。Okay. Okay. Dear
对，但是我
participants.
看不到你的presentation， 也看不到你的画面。
看不到。
是听得到你的声音 ，We can hear you, but we can't see your presentation. 那要麻烦你分享画面一下。
Yes, we're trying to reconnect, so please give us a few minutes. Or would you want us to continue with the presentation? Then we can put on the slides later.
对，那个张博士，周伟，你那边 OK 吗？
用这台。
Should we?
So now we're going to use another laptop, so please bear with us. Sorry about the technical issues.
No problem. Yao, could we move to the next speaker maybe?
Certainly. I think while Taipei is sorting out the technical challenges,
we'll be ready in a minute, so please bear with us.
I'm fine with that. Songyun, what do you think?
Oh, I think.
麦克风有接到这个，还是要用？
Sorry, I think we better, sorry, that we go to next speaker, and then once you're ready, we can go back to you. Okay? So while you're arranging, let's move on. Thank you.
那台北的部分你们改为第3个 speaker， 那我们先进行下一位。So while Taipei is sorting out the technical problems, we will be welcoming our next speaker, Mrs. Seong-Kim Chu from South Korea. She is, I think, HealthBridge is a community-based healthcare service based in Seoul, the capital of South Korea. And I think after COVID-19 or while during COVID-19, health for the aging society has been more than ever important to all of us. So we are so glad to hear from Mrs. Seong-Kim Cho from HealthBridge company to tell us more about the community-based healthcare services. So Mrs. Cho, the floor is yours. You are on mute, so can you turn on the volume? Mrs. Seong-Kim Cho? Yes.
Yes. Nice to meet you.
최종윤 선생님 혹시 제 파일 안 띄워지나요?
아, 제가 띄워드릴까요? 잠시만요.
제가 띄우면 되나요?
원래 띄우시는 게 더 편한데 어떤 게 더 편하세요? 제가 백업으로 가지고 있긴 한데 편하게 해주시면 돼요. 직접 하시는 게 제일 편하긴 한데 바로 있으시면
네네, 그러면 네네.
네. 네. So we'll be sharing the presentation. So if the connection is not good, I can try as well, but we'll see. Do you have it now? And while waiting, another advertisement. So from throughout the forum, we have a main question to all the speakers at all the plenaries, all the workshops and as well as sessions. So the question is, what should be the actions or strategies of individuals, governments, groups, societies, countries to achieve a better and more inclusive world? What key action should be promoted from the local level? So this is more a question or or suggestion that we'd like to hear from all of you who join us today. So anyone who's joining from Facebook page or GSEF2021.org website, please leave your message. It'd be great. We'll try to collect all the comments, suggestions, answers, and share with you all later as a part of the report. Okay. Okay. Sonny, no worries. I have it. And then I'll just.
파일 공유를 좀 부탁드려야 될 것 같아요.
Yeah, I'm just sharing with you. Okay.
Thank you.
Could you start? Thank you.
Yeah. I'm Here's my doctor system for health minors. Health bridge, Sunny Choi. The weak in health due to income inequality and differences in access to information. It means a social group that cannot enjoy its own health rights. Realistically, it means low income and educational background. In order to eliminate social inequality, we believe that we should help the weak and help to participate in society, improve their lives, and improve their economic status while maintaining their own health and recovering their health. For this reason, we have reached a social venture company that provides health doctor service to help anyone take care of their own health. We would like to play an important social roles. Next page. In fact, big data from the Ministry of Health and Welfare shows more certainly. As shown in the table, medical expenses for elderly people with chronic disease are high. In particular, high-income people in Gangnam spend. Next page. In particular, high-income people in Gangnam spend 190 on medical care due to systematic chronic disease management. But if the elderly and are suffering from chronic disease, they spend a lot of money on medical care and non-insurance treatment. High-income people who have clear information about their health and receive appropriate treatment due to their intimacy with doctors can not only achieve good results in preventive health management. There are very few cases of severe exacerbation or side effect. However, in the low income bracket, chronic diseases are often repeated, and although side effects or drug are obvious, drug therapy is often carried out again without knowing whether it is due to aging or other causes. In this case, the quality of life of individual who maintain healthy and elegant lives to proper management of disease and healthcare, which is the original purpose or longevity, will be compromised. We have the world's best health insurance system, but when you see a doctor at a hospital, we can't see him for more than 3 minutes. And when our expertise is low, it's almost impossible to understand and respond quickly. It's usually difficult and expensive to see your doctor or doctor. Page 4. So our business model in the first stage is health doctor service. It is a system and infrastructure that operates O2O health management space and understands personal health conditions and provides customized health managed service. So I knocked the Seoul Metropolitan Government's care business and community care business market, but the result is dismal. It is true that receiving our healthcare service, we have improved health and improved quality of life, but the reality is that the elderly choose our service is very low. And in reality, there are two problems. The first is the reality of trafficking. Our service provides preventive healthcare for the middle-aged and elderly in need of healthcare. Health people and economically well-off people actively participate in the service. Rather, the elderly suffering from chronic disease are relatively unaware of the necessary or importance and are just living by accepting the pain of the disease as part of their lives. The second is the perception of local governments. The reality is that elderly people with chronic disease are isolated from society by leaving society due to pain such as disease, and that they are alienated because there are very few cases where they ask for help. However, if you are suffering from mental health problems such as depression, it is a very important social problem and there is no need for management anymore. But I'm also very interested in administrative public affairs. The deterioration is in mental health of causes problems in real society and harms others. And social agreements have already been reached on preventive health care for people in society. Don't you think it's a problem not to be interested in them in a reality where elderly people with chronic disease are experiencing difficulties in life and to provide only after-sale supported service service now. Next page. In addition, the active participation of the elderly with disease and the will to improve their health are the most important conditions in our healthcare service. But in fact, the will of the elderly with chronic disease is not very high. Therefore, motivation enhancing therapy is a very important part of the implementation of healthcare service. In the process, we can see that there are various virtual business such as community physiological counseling and psychotherapy service, and there are motivation strengthening treatment system, Harlem University Hospital, and psychotherapy campaigns can be a good service solution. Therefore, we have introduced psychological care and motivation enhancing treatment, which are sub-programs of Korean healthcare service to provide psychological care service tailored to the elderly and children in the community. Based on this, we naturally spread our health doctor service to participation members. Next. Our health doctor system collects real-time data on members' life log and health psychological status. In the past, psychological counseling was mainly offline, and the quality of psychological counseling was determined according to the individual abilities of psychological counselors. When using the health doctor system, it provides a basis for objective analysis and consistent evaluation of individual psychological status through the analysis of members' daily lives and various personal information. In addition, we have established a system to provide mental health management arbitration service to relieve stress from individual health goals due to individual health conditions and to provide customized service. Motivation strengthening, we are proud to strengthen individual motivation for participation based on treatment and development. Individual will full health life, and our health doctor service has excellent health management effect. Next. Community care and care currently provides individual care virtual service. However, when using our main health doctor service, we can systematically monitor the health status of our members and provide health management service in accordance with the information exchange between care service personnel. Therefore, starting with Eunpyeong-gu and Gwangjin-gu, we will support the exchange of information and customized care service between enterprise based on the healthcare system and become the best practice for community care. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Choi. I think it's technology can really help us to bridge and build a more inclusive and healthy community. Taiwan is similar to South Korea, where gradually becoming a aging society. And I think your presentation and your company's mission is to make sure that the elderly is not just enjoying the physical health, but I think from your presentation, they are also provided a lot of consultation to make sure that they also have mental health as well. So I think physically, mentally are both the goal 3 for SDG, for a good health and well-being for the community. So thank you so much, Mrs. Choi. So finally, I think not finally, we are coming to the third speaker of today. Without further ado, Dr. Lily Chang, I hope your presentation is ready. Lily Chang has a very impressive background in urban planning. He's from Taipei City Government's Department of Urban Development. He's the senior specialist, and he will be introducing us about a very impressive project about housing in Taipei. So I think Joyce is talking about bottom-up actions to bring community development. And Dr. Lily Chang will be telling us about a city government's top-down project in order to provide affordable and inclusive housing for all the citizens. So the floor is yours, Dr. Lily Chang. 张张伟，请可以开始。
Thank you. Dear participants, my name is Lily Chang. I'm in charge of urban planning and social housing planning in Taipei City Government. I am deeply honored to introduce the transformation of Taipei City's Ankang community. I would like to begin with the story of Ankang community. I will explain how the city government promoted community integration through the planning and the construction of social housing. Firstly, I will talk about the background, the development of Ankang community. Taipei is the capital city of Taiwan. It has high population density and the low ratio of house price to income is the highest in Taiwan. To take care of citizens, the city government planned various types of public housing. For example, Ankang community was provided to people with the lowest incomes. In early times, the city government used public land to build the low-income housing. Ankang community was made up of 4-floor buildings without elevators. Due to long-term poor management, the buildings become no longer suitable for living. To promote the local development, in 2011, the city government decided to carry out a plan to rebuild the community. The table shows that income of Ankang community related is lower than incomes in manufacturing, financial and insurance industrial in Taiwan. Second, we move on to transformation of the low-income housing. Ankang community has 7 sites and is restructuring carried out by stages. At start, one site is firstly chosen to be rebuilt and allow for nearby residents to move in once the reconstruction has been completed. Next, the second site is then under rebuild and so on. The overall plan takes 19 years to complete. More than 2,000 housing units and 14 welfare facilities were built. The overall rebuilding plan has 4 important key concepts. In the past, Hong Kong community have the image of being rustic. The new community has modern building design, emphasizing architecture at the edges, smart buildings, green building, earthquake resistant, and accessible design. In terms of creating public space, with idea of designing for big family, we designed public space overall. Hoping this community public space can be as comfortable as being at home. For example, one of the rebuilding sites has various types of open space, as well as unique area walkway. Interior designer of the new social housing aims to give people a bright and a high quality living environment. Use lively colors to make residents happy. The house styling design is for mixed living. Most units are one bedroom and a stereo, suitable for single, small family, or elderly. 2 and 3 bedrooms are for larger families. Through 3-dimension design, we have made full use of lower floors, planning various welfare facilities, such as daycare centers for children and the elderly. Finally, I could share with everybody how city government promotes community integration. The residents of New Hong Kong community are people with income lower than 50 percentile. 7% of households are set for young people. Why? The city government hope to use their professional knowledge and vitality through event planning and participation, forming community awareness. This party was jointly held by young residents and daycare center staffs. Activity includes ball games for young children, clothes styling for young people, entertainment for elderly. My modern architectural design, mixed living housing unit design, community participation planned by young people. Taipei City Government hosts created new city lifestyle through social housing development, building a city of progress. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, Dr. Lily Chang. Thank you so much. I think we all experience high-priced real estate in urban areas, like in Taipei or in Seoul. So city government of Taipei could take such an initiative to build an inclusive community, especially even with a lot of elderly living in this community. You are still incorporate young people's idea into building a better and more inclusive community. I think it's really amazing. So today, we are having the 4th speakers, the last speaker of today's session, but definitely not the least, is Dr. Song Wen-jun. Dr. Song Wen-jun is a policy specialist advisor in agri-food and rural development, working for Hong Seong county of Korea. As far as I know, Hongseong County is about 1 hour away from Seoul. And his experience in government work is really impressive. And today he will be sharing with us about how citizens of Hongseong come up with diverse alternative practices over its agri-food system, such as organic agriculture, social farming, consumer cooperatives, and community building. But I think what Dr. Yong will share with us is far more from just agriculture aspect, but from how to build an inclusive community with public-private partnership. So I think with his presentation, it gives us a great summary into our 4 speakers' presentation. And at the end of Dr. Yong's speech, then we'll start our discussion. So all the participants, you are more than welcome to post your questions online, and then we're gonna select some of the questions to all of our presenters. But now the floor is for you, Dr. Song Won-ju.
Thank you for your moderator, and it's my great pleasure. Can you hear me well? Okay, it's my great pleasure to have this opportunity to exchange ideas on inclusive community, and I have been also very impressed by others' presentations, such as gender struggles in Nigeria, community care initiatives in Korea, and social housing in Taipei. I hope my presentation will be also profitable for your idea development. As the moderator has introduced, I'm going to discuss about public-private partnership, which is far more than agriculture and alternative agriculture initiatives. Just for a second, please. So because time limitation, I'm going to try to introduce the initiative of public-private partnership in Hongseong briefly. So let me introduce where is Hongseong and how Hongseong is in general context. Hongseong is the capital of the South Chungcheong province, which is located far west in the middle of Korea. And the population is around 100,000 in 2020. And the area is around 444 square kilometer. And it is consists of 3 towns and 8 townships. And also it has Nepo Innovation City, which has the provincial office of South Chungcheong province. Actually, as you may know well, in Korea, most of wealth and finance have been concentrated on Seoul and peripheral cities in Gyeonggi province. This is one of the reasons why from around the end of 2010, the central government has initiated to develop other marginalized cities, which are out of Seoul and Gyeonggi province. And Hongseong has been also included in the project. That is one of the reasons why the Nepo Innovation City has been developed. But as you may have also supposed, Hongseong has been originally typical rural areas in Korea. It means that because of such a national project, Hongseong has faced such challenges to initiate different way of its city development. And also the moderator has introduced, Hongseong is just 1 hour from Seoul by train or car. There are lots of features, but lots of characteristics to understand Hongseong County. But Hongseong has been well known as a mecca of environment-friendly agriculture. Hongseong is the first city for duck farming. not only the farming, but also snail farming and other kinds of alternative farming have been developed in Hongsang. That is the reason why Hongsang has been appointed as special area for organic agriculture since 2011, appointed by the Ministry of Small Medium Enterprise. And also Hongsang is quite famous for consumers cooperativism movement. Actually, Prumu Consumers Cooperative is one of the most famous in Korea. And also, it is also quite famous for multifunction agriculture, such as social farming, care farming. At the same time, Hongsang is the first city which has introduced public school lunch program with environmentally friendly produced food. And also, it is well known as a large number of livestock farmhouse support. However, even though Hongsang is quite famous for agriculture initiatives, in Hongsang there are lots of alternative initiatives to develop locality. So from now on, I'm going to introduce the governance system and or public partnership, public-private partnership. This is the typology of governance. However, as we don't have enough time, I'm not going to look into details of the typology of governance. However, what I want to emphasize here is to discuss on the network governance, which has features of hierarchy and interactive relationship among actors and institutional initiatives to develop the public-private partnership. And also it has characteristic of horizontal collaboration, as well as developing organizational trust between multi-stakeholders. As you may know, traditional scheme of governance has focused on hierarchical governance, so-called top-down way, while neoliberalism discourses are talking about market governance, which has based on spontaneous relationship. However, the public-private partnership which Hongsang has developed is quite related to network governance rather than hierarchical governance and market governance. So I'm going to introduce how Hongsang's public-private partnership is related to network governance. As some of you may know very well, this is triangle to understand different sectors and third sectors among state, community, and market. I'm not going to look details of certain sectors, but here what I want to stress out is about certain sector is not subject to be given and or tailored already. Later, certain sector is subject to be pioneered and also observed, which we have not yet found out. So the partnership initiatives between public and private in Hongsang is trying to find out such sectors which we have not yet recognized. So this is brief introduction of the Hongsang Tong, which we called as the public-private partnership in Hongsang. Hongsang is the name of the area, as you know, and also Tong is meant for such connection or going through. In 2011, there was growing concerns about agrarian challenges such as aging rural society as well as free trade agreement. It was one of the reasons why Division of Eco-Friendly Agri-Food and Rural Development Policy was established, where I'm now working for. However, it was unable to find solutions to tackle agrarian challenges by this entity. At the same time, there was growing needs to exchange and develop ideas in between the public and private, or in between the rural and urban. Even though agrarian challenges are mostly associating with rural issues, however, as you may know, in modern society or post-modern society, the rural cannot solve every problem. It is the reason why Hongsang Tong was born in 2013, where multiple local actors participated in. In order to discuss local issues and find a solution together with public-private actors, many of the local entities have participated in Hong Sang Tong every Tuesday of the last week. There are 4 characteristics for Hong Sang Tong. First, there is no representative. However, there is one coordinator, respectively in the public and the private. It means that I'm the one of the coordinators from the government, and there is the other who is working as private coordinators. And second, there is no institutional framework. There's no law, there is no regulation, there is no conventions to join Hong Sang Tong. It means that Hong Sang Tong is based on voluntary participation. And also it has been featured with openness and transparency, sharing diverse information, and also it is based on cooperative relationship. This is the organization of the Hong Sang Tong. I'm sorry that some part has been not yet translated. However, for your understanding, the red color is meant for public sector, which is related to Department of the Local Government of Hong Sang. And the blue part is the private sector, private actors. And the yellow part is related to public-private support agency between public and private sector. And the last actors, which is colored with gray, is community-based groups. And the total number of organizations here now is 183 groups and agencies. This is to understand how Hong Sang Tong is working now on. There is the main committee, which we call the Hong Sang Tong, under which there are subcommittee as well. For example, Culture Tong, Tourism Tong, Social Economic Tong, Youth Tong, Education Tong, City Regeneration Tong, Food Tong. In Hong Sang Tong, we used to have general issues, general local issues to share, to solve together. If we find out specific issues, we are going to try to establish sub-communities based on the issue and topic. So for now, centered on Hong Sang Tong main committee, we have 7 subcommittee based on specific issues. So this is to share how Hong Sang Tong is working in widening each organization. As I have explained here, Hong Sang Tong was initiated by Division of Eco-Friendly Agri-Food and Rural Development Policy in 2011 to tackle agrarian challenges, especially in the rural areas. However, it was quite difficult to solve all the agrarian challenges in rural areas. It is one of the reasons why the government and also private sectors were necessary to mobilize other actors. With such initiatives, Hong Sang Tong was born in 2013, while not only rural actors but also urban actors have joined in Hong Sang Tong. In the result, Community Support Center was established in 2017. It is one of the achievements of Hong Sang Tong. The members of Hong Sang Tong used to say. The former slide was to talk about how the Hong Sang Tong has been widened. This slide is to talk about how Hong Sang Tong has been deepened, or how the local issues has been deepened in the initiative of the Hong Sang Tong. From left to right, we can see the mechanism of the Hong Sang Tong development. The first one is the local issues has been specified, and also rural-urban networking or multi-stakeholderism has been deepened and deepened. And also the Hong Sang Tong has shown institutionalized process as well. For example, in 2011, in order to tackle agrarian challenges, the local actors, especially rural actors, mostly focus on food security and food sovereignty discourses. However, in the course of time, in 2015, especially while encountering with the urban actors, the local actors have tried to deepen their interest in food safety and school lunch program. Actually, in this process, Hong Song Tong has been born. At the same time, the members of Hong Song Tong between public and private sector try to enact local law for school lunch food provisioning. At the same time, the government established a school lunch support center. This is still ongoing process. These days, their discourses has been elaborated into the idea of right to food and food citizenship. So subcommittee has been established at a so-called Food Tong, where the actors have shared the values while reconstructing the locality. So actually the local government of Hong Song has been prepared for enacting local laws on right to food and food policy council now on. So let me briefly conclude my presentation. The initiative of public-private partnership and governance in Hong Song, South Korea shall not be translated in the context of such political mobilization nor policy imitation, but a local process and practice to reach problem solving and mutual learning among multiple stakeholders. Rather than focusing on such openness, transparency, communication, which good governance refers to, Hong Song Tong has reconstructed spatial and social relations in between different places of the locality. Those who used to work, live, and think in a fixed place and or places encounter differences as well as diversities through Hong Song Tong, especially among the public, private, and market sector. Each dialectic network of Hong Song Tong is not simply subject to facilitate the social spatial connection and problem solving, but reconstruct a relational border by which local actors externalize as well as internalize their life politics. The reason why I have now described relations borders, as you guys have remembered, third sectors, the borders among three sectors, state, community, and market sectors are not subject to be given, but to be pioneered and reconstructed as a relational borders. That is the reason why I have described here it as relational borders. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Zhong. I think it's really such a great presentation. I think the partnership that we're discussing today has been clearly described by Hong Song Tong and the work that you have been working on for the past, I think, 8 or 9 years. So far, I'm glad we have all 4 presentations that have given to all of our audience. So we will have until about 20 minutes per discussion until the end of our session. So I will save 1 or 2 minutes for all the speakers at the very end of this discussion for your summary and conclusion. So before that, I think we'll have some time, 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A. As the privilege of a moderator, I will ask the first question while we select some of the questions from the audience. My first question will be directing to Joyce as well as Dr. Zhong. I think the most special thing about GSEF 2021 is that we lived through COVID-19. So my first question to Joyce and to Dr. Zhong is about COVID-19's impact on your work. I will explain a little bit. Because both Joyce's organization, Neighbor Side Housing Cooperative Society, it has started in 2016, a few years before COVID-19. And Dr. Zhong, your Hong Song Tong also began in 2013, a few years before COVID-19. Have you seen, or do you agree or disagree that your community grassroots work has been working for the solidarity of your community during COVID-19? The question is posing to you because I think our discussion about social solidarity economy is highly relevant to COVID-19 because it's a twin pandemic. It's not just affecting our health in general, it also affects our economy. And both of your organization has been working for the grassroots community for some years prior to COVID-19 hit the community. So I'm wondering if you can share with us your work with the community. So for Joyce, it's the domestic workers of Nairobi. And for Dr. John, it's your work with Hong Kong agriculture sector, as well as the government. Does this grassroots work has helped, and how can you give us some examples during COVID-19? I hope I made my question clear. So Joyce, maybe we can start from you.
Yes, thank you for that question. Because Neighborside Housing Cooperative, our organization has really been affected by COVID-19. In the first place, the dropout rate of our members, because this organization is membership-based, voluntary membership for domestic workers. Last year, starting in March or April, the dropout rate started because one by one, members would just report that I have had to go back to my rural home. And consequently, now we don't have members. As we talk, we are recruiting afresh. And that's a big challenge because we have no members to offer our activities to. We have no members even to network to other organizations. We are just starting afresh. As for the number of girls who are affected, I only know of one case. One girl who got ill, but she recovered and she's now working. At least she was retained by her employer. And the employer was quite good because throughout the COVID-19, she was hospitalized and she came back to the employer. But during the COVID era, we didn't have the opportunity for sharing masks or even the PPE. We didn't have that opportunity, but the goodwill, at least on phone, I was in touch with the members here and there, but we have not yet recovered up to now. But we are hoping in the coming years, we will recover. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Joyce. And Dr. Zhong?
Thank you for the great question. Yeah, Korea has also suffered from impact of COVID-19. And I would say there are pros and cons influence by the COVID-19, especially in Hong Kong and grassroots initiatives here. As the saying, your country have faced, your community have faced, there is a lack of effort to develop grassroots initiative or solidarity initiatives because they cannot see each other well. Nevertheless, local actors have made effort to find out their own way to communicate each other through online platform, or they try to keep talking by telephone or text message. At the same time, I have been quite interested in the phenomena that growing people, not only in Hong Kong, but also across the country of Korea, growing people having interest in rural life rather than urban life amid the COVID-19, because compared to urban areas, in rural areas, people are relatively less paid attention to social distancing. At the same time, in rural areas, people the rural people have been also quite limited to move to another places. It means that they have had a chance to look into their community where some neighbors, some peoples are marginalized, some elders have been under malnutrition. Before COVID-19, they didn't know how much the elders or their neighbors were suffering from malnutrition, for example. However, amid COVID-19, people have recognized, oh my neighbor have suffered from such difficulties. So they have tried to find out solutions amid COVID-19. So I would say impact of COVID-19 is not just disadvantage. Some aspect, because of some aspect, people have found out what they didn't know in the past. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think COVID-19 affects us all in different way. And the next question is for Dr. Lily Chang of Taipei City. So the audience is interested in learning from you, how do we develop good social housing project from the government, but at the same time listening and cooperating with social and solidarity economy actors. So Dr. Lily Chang, can you share with us your experience?
Okay, thank you for your question. May I share my slide?
위원님, 정성 위원님, could you stop sharing the presentation, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I share my slide?
Slide? Yes.
Yes.
First, I would need the help from Song Jong to Dr. Jong to stop sharing, and then yes, now you can share. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and you can see on the right side, the design of the social housing
Actually,
building.
we couldn't see the screen. 我们看不到画面。对，您继续讲，但是看不到画面。
Okay. And the design of the social housing building can be divided into two parts: lower floor and the higher floors. And we made lower floors for various welfare facilities, such as daycare centers for children and elderly. And this can be done by working with welfare groups. And we also provide the higher floors to NGOs and NPOs. They can rent the social housing and provide them to the people in need. So can you, from the PowerPoint, you can see the right.
Dr. Lily Chang, I could share the PPT, but which slide are you considering? I can share.
Oh, is it 13? 13.
Yeah.
13.
13. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you stop sharing? Then I'll try to share. Is this correct? 13? Community welfare?
Yes. Okay. Can we see? So the designer divided two parts: the lower floors and the higher floors. And the lower floors is for daycare centers for the children and the elderly. And this can be done by working with the welfare groups. And the higher floors to the NGOs and the NPOs, they can rent the social housing and provide them to the people in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lily Chang. And today is the first day of GSEF 2021, and our key objective is to think about more about the public-private partnership in making sure we are rebuilding an inclusive society. So while we are coming to probably the end of our session, I would pose this open question to all our presenters and our speakers that to give us some of your thoughts about what should be the actions or strategies of either individual, governments, groups, society, countries to achieve a better and more inclusive society. I think we have here with us a very diverse panelist. We have female speakers as well as male speakers. We have speakers from different regions, as well as we have speakers from governments, from NGO, and from Workers' Association. So I would like to ask you, all of us working from the local level, what kind of actions you think should be promoted from the local level to achieve a more inclusive community and a more inclusive society. So I would like to start with, how about Miss Seong-hee Cho? If you would like to share with us as a conclusion to your today's presentation, what do you think should be promoted from a local community for more inclusive society?
Thank you for Mrs. Choi. Just like I really appreciate her participation, because we also wanted to have like local actors, right, supporting the community, like Joyce and Sonny Choi. She herself is nurse, and because of the language issues, yeah, she felt a bit not sure, but like I mentioned that we'll be there. Like I'm more like a language supporter, right? So I was just typing in Korean. I'll just make a summary in Korean for her, and then she will give her short, remark, and then I'll try to translate again. Okay, in a summary.
No
최
problem.
선생님 감사합니다.
No
저희 전체 포럼의 중심 주제가 지역에서 사직경제 주체들이 아니면 정부면 정부, 지역 주체면 주체, 아니면 저 개인 포함해서 모두가 어떻게 하면 저희 포럼 중심 주제인 포용적인 사회를 만들어갈 수 있을지, 모두가 잘 살 수 있는 우리 그 지구를 위한 그런 사회 어떻게 만들 수 있고, 어떤 행동이 필요하고 어떤 전략이 필요하고 무엇을 할 수 있을지 오늘 다른 분들의 얘기를 들어주시고, 약간 요약해서 죄송하지만 한 1분 정도 짧게 말씀 주시면 제가 그거 요약해가지고 영어로 말씀드려볼게요. 편하신 대로 해주시면 됩니다. 우리말로 해주셔도 되고 영어로 해주셔도 됩니다.
네, 죄송하지만 저희 말로 할게요. 지금 코로나가 심해지면서 이제 건강이 되게 양극화돼 가고 있거든요. 아까 말씀드렸듯이 강남은 오히려 많은 케어를 받으면서 건강을 잘 유지를 하고 있는 반면에 일단은 코로나 때문에 이제 건강이 많이 양극화되고 가고 있는데, 저희 서비스는 시골에 계시든 수입이 어떻든 경제가 어떻든 건강 약자들 모든 분들이 저희 서비스를 통해서 지역사회랑 같이 결합을 하면서 이분들이 같이 건강 공동체를 만들어 가기를 바라는 마음에서 저희 같이 하고 있거든요. 네, 그래서 네. 네.
네, 제가 아까 아닙니다. 아까 해주신 말씀 듣고 제가 조금 더 덧붙여서 설명을 좀 드릴게요. Well, thank you so much, Sonny Choi. Well, Health Breeze is working on building like a health community, like the health and hygiene of the community, taking care of and considering and being together with the vulnerable people like elderly. As we all know, the COVID-19 situation aggravated polarization not only the wealth or digitalization, but also health, as we all know. So more attention should be given, and like local actor like HealthBridge, we need more like them, and all of us should pay attention to that part of paying attention to the more vulnerable people in times of crisis. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Song Yun. You also need to work as an interpreter. Great job. So I will leave this question open to others, presenters and speakers. If you have one suggestion, how should we promote our social solidarity economy from local level? What would be your one suggestion to all the participants at GSEF 2021? So if I may ask Joyce.
Yes. For me, I would say that there is a need for governments or these organized groups to keep a record of segmented residents or the population in their localities, such that when development plans are made, every group that is segmented is given a chance to participate actively through representatives. And also for every issue that is forwarded to be implemented, and a budget is set aside accordingly, and for follow-up mechanisms, and for residents to say, yes, we are happy that our issues were taken on board. For me, that is inclusive governance, and it works, and it would work. Thank you.
Yes, I think Joyce would like to start a chain of reactions. We need to put all the resources into making sure that fragmented society becomes a society of solidarity. And Dr. Zhong, your impressive experience, I'm sure you will have a lot of advice to all the participants in GSEF 2021.
Thank you for the great question. Somehow, wicked problems, what should be the action or strategy of individuals, multiple stakeholders in local level for the better inclusive world? I'm not quite sure how you guys have understood the relationship between the local and the global, and or the rural and the urban. However, in my understanding, in my perspective, the local is also relational term to understand the global, and the global is the other relational term to understand the local. So the reason why I have now stressed out the spatial relations between the local and global and the rural urban associate with our bias or our thought to divide different spaces or different people. However, while suffering from COVID-19, we have witnessed such a way of division for everything would be not helpful. Rather, we should find out initiative to find out relational perspective between differences. In order to understand differences in relational approaches, I would say it is very necessary to promote and facilitate communication among different stakeholders. However, it is not, of course, not easy to facilitate and develop communication initiative of multiple stakeholders. So at least I would like to suggest to encounter each other as long as we can. Of course, encountering each other would be not enough. So I would like to suggest to find out mutual interests, which are not necessary to something good or something bad or challenge we have faced. We can commonizing or we can problematizing such things together. What I want to emphasize here is to find out such commons we can share, upon which, by which we can encounter gradually, and also we can find our solution together. In such a relational approach, I would say we could find out something new strategy or approaches for locality to overcome our challenges we have faced in the world. Thank you.
Really, really excellent answer, and I think it serves so well for our first day's conversation to kick off the first day's theme, because there are so many shared challenges we face on solidarity, and I can hear from all the speakers that the only way that we overcome these shared challenges is either by identifying our commonality or by making sure that we encountered with each other, we can start having a conversation. So onto the path of overcoming these challenges, we become more trusting each other rather than distrusting each other. And that's what Dr. Zhong is talking about, finding the mutual interest among this discussion. And I think it's excellent that you are able to identify a lot of the hidden stakeholders. I know we are over the limited time a little bit. I'm not sure if Dr. Lily Chang, would you like to give us your remarks for closing?
Okay, thank you. And I think it's very important to how to let the young people involve in our social housing. And we said how to promote the young community participant plan. Here are our suggestions. One, plan the public space. There are many outdoor public space, and indoor space. There are community placement, dancing studio or service. And two, establish selection mechanism. People who would like to live in social housing and need to attend the lottery. However, we set a quota for young people who selected based on their proposal to increase community integration. And finally, encourage event planning. Taipei City will over part of the event cost. We encourage them to host events which use their skills, such as public space decoration, community care for kids or elderly. So we could like to promote the young community participant plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lily Chang. So again, I want to thank all the participants for your presentations. And New Taipei City is so proud and so honored to be part of this discussion where city promoting sustainability. And like Dr. Lily Chang said, sustainability is about generational communications. It's for our next generation. So we need to include more youngsters' voices into the community building. I think we should stay tuned for GSEF 2021. Later on, we'll have opening, we'll have mayor's panel, and we'll also have our plenary session. Wherever you are, whichever time zone you are in, we should stay tuned. And I'll give back the floor to our secretariat. So
Thank you so much, Yo. We had today our first English workshop. Excellent moderator, excellent speakers. Thank you so much. This is great. We have like amazing experiences from Korea, Taiwan, and Kenya, and we'll continue. Please stay tuned for more, and then we'll be sharing all the information presentation on our website. Thank you so much once again, Yao. Thank you so much, our distinguished speakers. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you and bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Joyce, we should stay in touch.
We should,
I'd
yes.
love to hear more from you. Amazing work. just
I'll-
like all the presenters.
I'll get in touch through GSEF.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
大家好。